Hello, welcome to Groove Diner After Dark. I am still your host, Buddy Gibbons. Um, Tonight's episode is going to be a little different, only because the guest that we have, Robyn Flans, the interview left such an impact on us that we're actually doing this right after the interview ended. Robyn is known kind of as the first lady of drummer interviews. But what we found tonight was a woman who is deeply, profoundly respectful of music and drummers in particular. She truly loves us, and we in turn love her. She's someone that we all have a seriously deep respect for, and she's earned it through 40 years of interviewing the very best of the very best. And through her care and love for drummers, we have all fallen for her. So tonight's episode, we want you to see and hear and feel exactly who she is and what she has meant to all of us, because it comes right through in the interview. Make no mistake. By the end of this, you're going to be in love with her too, just like all of us. So with that, welcome to the show, and please enjoy this interview and conversation with someone that I'm quite honored to call my friend, Robyn Flans. Welcome to the show. It's so good to be here with you guys live tonight. It's Monday night. So many of you knew that I got anthrax, and I am feeling quite a bit better. If you hear a little bit of gruffness in my voice tonight, it's still not quite 100%, but I'm feeling a lot better. So thanks to everyone who checked on me over the past week. Man, the NAMM show was so good, and yet so many of us get sick just year in and year out, right? Well, I don't even know what to say about it. Anyway, I am
consistent. That's for sure.
It is definitely consistent. Yeah, it's amazing. So I'm seeing Charles is here. Thanks for joining us from South Africa. You said it's autumn down there, is it? Hadn't really thought of that, because we are, of course, transitioning spring and summer here. So it makes sense that your autumn to winter is coming for you. It's going to be cold soon. Charles says, hi, Eli. Toby, good to see you here. She's out. She says she's driving, but she's listening. So that's good to have you with us as well, Toby. If you're here tonight with us, let us know where you are, especially if you're a first timer. Tell us where you are and where you're watching. Are you on YouTube or Facebook? We're certainly glad to have you with us. Please subscribe to the channels, do your thing, ring the little bell, all the things that you already know how to do, because we're trying to grow our channel, and you are the ones that make it possible for us. I'd like to remind you about next week's show. We still have a few slots for our questions. Next week is, in fact, it's your show. It's your show. So you are asking the questions, and I'm going to answer them. Kind of blindly go in. We've still got a few slots left. We've gotten quite a few questions already, but please send them to groovedinerafterdark@gmail.com. Get them into us as quickly as you can within the next 2 or 3 days, so that we can potentially get them on air and get you your question answered. It's going to be a lot of fun. We always enjoy that episode every season. Also, the autographed drumhead. Like and share the show. Like and share it. Everybody that likes and shares the show is automatically entered to win the autographed drumhead from every guest we have this season. Right here it is in my hand. Last year, Toby was our winner of all things. She's not eligible this year because she works for us now. But maybe you can win, and you can work for us too. Who knows? But be sure you share the show and like the show and tag us in it, and we'll get you immediately and automatically entered to win. Looking forward to seeing some more of your questions for next week. As, of course, I told you in the monologue, or the pre-show moment there, tonight's interview with Robyn, I'm going to let the interview stand on its own. I'm not going to say a whole lot, because part of what I would say here, I say at the top of the interview. But I was so excited to have her. And all of the things that I said a moment ago about her being such an advocate and such a fan of all things drums and drummers, you're about to see it for yourself. So hold on, get ready. Eli, Let's take them to the next step. We'll be right back after this. This episode is brought to you by HearBack Pro from Hear Technologies. The ability to hear yourself clearly in a recording or live situation is key to delivering your best, most creative performance. The HearBack Pro system, made up of a hub and individual mixers, allows performers in a session or on a gig the ability to dial in exactly what they need to hear in order to be their best. If you're looking for a solution to allow yourself or your clients to hear themselves better, check out HearBack Pro from Hear Technologies. All right, tonight my guest is Robyn Flans. Robyn is, and I love this, the first lady of drummer interviews. And I have never been as intimidated in my life from the guest that's sitting in that chair as I am tonight. I first became aware of Robyn from this magazine article in 1990, the LA Studio Drummers Roundtable. And I've shown this a couple of times because this magazine mattered to me so much. Robyn, I'm going to talk to you instead of them now. This magazine article meant so much to me as a kid growing up in Mississippi and reading about this stuff and saying, oh my gosh, this is what I want to do with my life. Mm. And I was like, who are you? Who is this person that got these people in a bus? And I have to know the story of the bus too. But thank you so much for being here. And I really promise not to do all the talking because I want to hear what you've got to say. But I'm feeling so overwhelmed that you came tonight to hang with me. So thank you.
Oh, gosh. It's my humble pleasure. That day meant a lot to me, too.
I can imagine.
Let's just cut to the chase.
Sure.
One of the best memories in my career, my life, my personal memories, my career memories, you name it.
Sure.
Okay. And I get a little choked up thinking about
okay.
that day. The bus.
Yes, please. Let's start with the bus.
Okay,
Tell me about the bus. We had Denny Fongheiser and he mentioned the bus.
My husband at the time, his family had come out from Rhode Island in that bus.
No kidding.
And they thought it was cool and wanted to take pictures with it.
Just the guys decided
The guys said,
funny.
Let's take pictures with the bus. They saw it parked outside. It was an eyesore on my street, frankly.
Sure.
But they thought it was cool and they wanted to take pictures. And Lissa thought it was very cool. Lissa, God bless her.
Yeah, Lissa Wales.
Yeah. And she made it look fantastic.
She did.
And it was iconic. It became iconic.
Well, very definitely. I mean, it's one of the things that I remember when I first think about it was the bus.
The bus. So, Ed's family from Rhode Island trekked out on that bus.
How about that?
And that became the Modern Drummer bus. But yeah, so that was an amazing day. And I think back to those days, buddy, and I wonder how I got them all in that room.
Yeah.
Because, we didn't have the internet back then.
No.
There was no email.
No.
All that planning had to be done on the telephone.
Sure.
And those guys were busy.
I mean, we're talking, let's just name them here. So it's Vinnie Colaiuta, Jim Keltner, Steve Schaefer, Harvey Mason, who am I missing? Jeff Porcaro, Denny Fongheiser, and Mike Baird. Yeah.
And do you know what schedules they had?
I can't even imagine it.
I mean, it was all their heydays. Yeah. And I don't even remember how I put that together. I mean, I didn't have a secretary or an assistant. Right. Mean, it was me, myself, and I.
You sprinkled some magic fairy dust on it, I think.
So getting them to commit to a day, and I don't know. Don't ask. I have no recollection of what that took.
Well, it's certainly not your only iconic article and interview, but it was the one that first caught my attention.
Yeah.
And just for the record, where are you from?
Born in New York, but raised here from age 3 on.
Okay, so you've been out here most of your life then.
Yeah.
All right.
I did live in Nashville for a couple years.
Did you?
But yeah, that was.
When was that?
In the 80s.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where I met Ed.
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
Ed Eblin.
Ed Eblin. Okay. Yes. EPAD.
EPAD. Yes.
Maker.
Yes.
And
EPAD.
Yeah.
We'll have Eli put one right there because there's one right there. There's one right there. Actually, no, there's not one here. There's one over there, though. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you met Ed in Nashville.
I did.
And then did you move out here
And
together?
then he drove out here with me.
How about that?
Yeah.
Nashville, not your bag?
No, I liked it.
Yeah.
I liked it a lot, but really my life was here.
Yeah,
my
sure.
family was here.
Sure.
And it had served its purpose.
Totally understand that. Yeah, I lived there for a little over 7 years. And I was ready to not live there anymore.
I was ready to not live there. Okay.
I know you grew up a theater kid.
I did.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, I loved acting.
Musical theater?
No, just mostly drama.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I was a theatrical, emotional young woman.
That's okay.
And I was quite good at it, but the rejection thing was not, I wasn't tough enough. Let's put it that way.
That's what it was. It wasn't that you didn't have any inkling of pursuing it. You just the rejection factor was a little too high.
I had an agent, and they insisted I go out for parts as a 13-year-old.
Sure.
And the last audition I went on, I think it was at MTM Productions, Mary Tyler Moore Productions. She said, you're really quite good, but and you can look 13, but you have a maturity about you, and you're not 13.
Right.
So I don't know what you're going to do. So I thought I can't do this.
How old were you when you were doing?
I was like 20.
Oh, no kidding. Wow.
And I wanted to be 20, and I wanted to act.
Right.
And I wanted to do what I loved. So it was frustrating, and I just, my heart was broken, and
of course
I wanted to do what I loved. And so music was my second love.
Right.
And I wanted to find a way to work that into my life.
Explain that to me. Tell me how music was your second love. Are you a player? Are you a singer?
No, I just loved music.
The power of it, the feeling of it.
Look, the Beatles,
got it.
Became everything to me.
Sure.
I mean, aside from acting, my life revolved around the pictures on my walls.
Yeah.
And my entire walls were wallpapered with, the four of them.
I love that.
And my life changed. I screamed, at the television. I was a Beatlemaniac.
Nice. Ed Sullivan?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Nice. I got kicked out of the room, my sister and her boyfriend. And so that, there was that.
Yeah.
And I wanted to figure out how I could make that work.
Mm-hmm.
In my life. And so the writing seemed to be a thing, because creative writing was interesting to me, and I was good at it.
Sure.
And I figured that out.
So that took you to Billboard magazine, is that right?
Yes.
And with going to Billboard, how did you even approach them with that?
I don't know. I had a lot of gumption, we'll call
Clearly.
It. Yeah, and in Yiddish it's chutzpah.
Right, of course.
I had chutzpah. I just called Billboard. I mean, who does that?
Right.
But I called Billboard. I still remember the woman's name, Jean Williams.
Thanks, Jean.
And thanks, Jean.
Yeah.
She was the editor of the reviews.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I want to do reviews for you. And
just out of the blue, you made that call?
Yeah. And she said, well, have you done any? And I said, no, but I can.
Right.
And she said, well, I'll tell you what. You go out and do some reviews and bring them in to me. Mm-hmm. I mean, who does that?
Right.
And so I went out to the local clubs where I would hang out anyway.
Right.
And
Sunset Strip or something?
No.
Even
I'm talking about the Valley, restaurant lounges.
All right.
Where I would watch the, my favorite group, Applejack.
Love that.
Yeah.
That's great.
Vi Barnett and Applejack. And bless their souls,
Yeah.
I wrote a review. Still in touch with their drummer.
Vi Barnett and Applejack.
And their drummer went on to play with Johnny Mathis. I mean, they were good.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so I did a review.
Yeah.
And I went and did another review on another lounge band.
Right.
And I did another one. And I called her back. I said, okay, I have these reviews. Can I come and meet you?
Mm-hmm.
And she looked at them and she said, oh, they're really good.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll send you out. So the first concert she sent me out to do was Chicago at the Greek Theater.
Nice.
You gotta love it,
Yeah,
right?
no kidding. Wow.
You gotta love it. And not only was it the Chicago at the Greek Theater, but they had just signed their new deal with CBS Records. So they made this big deal out of this new contract.
Perfect.
They bussed all the VIPs, and of course I was considered a VIP because I was press that night.
Yeah.
Right? My first press concert.
Yeah.
So they bussed us all up after the concert to this bacchanalian feast at the observatory. They had it all laid out, this feast with dancers, and this was my first press event ever.
All downhill from there, kind of, right?
It went all downhill from there. Can you believe it?
I mean, that's quite a scoop for Billboard for you to get too. I mean,
that's what she gave me.
Wow.
Billboard.
Yeah. That's a huge deal. And how old were you at that point?
I was probably 20.
20 still? Okay, so you were that young. Wow. I think that's, I can't even wrap my mind around that.
And so once I had something in Billboard,
Yep.
I was able to call
Everybody. Yeah.
I write for Billboard.
Sure.
Can I write for you?
Sure.
And it went on from there. And that's what I did with Modern Drummer.
So
I called Modern Drummer.
And you did that. You just cold called them.
Cold call.
Well, it was 1977, right? That was when and that was Danny Serafin, right?
That was my first interview.
That was your first proper.
Yeah, that was my first interview for Modern Drummer.
Right. Okay.
Because I pitched it.
How was he? Was he welcoming to you as a woman?
Yes.
Yes. I know that some people thought you were a man.
Yes. Steve Smith thought I was going to be a man.
How'd that happen?
That was pretty funny. I just knocked on the hotel room and he answered the door and I saw the look on his face and I knew. Yeah. I knew right away that he was not expecting what he saw at the door. He just looked at me like, I think he was concerned.
Was he?
I mean, we became really good friends after that, but I think he was extremely concerned because Steve is very meticulous about his work and the way he comes across. Even back then, I mean, he, and we were young, but he was, he was concerned.
Sure.
And then there was Charlie Watts, who was drunk and concerned. He had stayed up all night with Mick and the boys.
Oh, wow.
And he had forgotten I was coming.
I see.
And I went to San Francisco to meet him while he was on tour, and Jim Keltner had set it up for me, and he couldn't believe that I would know anything about drums.
Right.
So he decided he was going to give me lots of tests. Who's Baby Dodds, and who's this one, and who's that one, and who's Sid Catlett, and who's this, and who's that. Finally, I said, Charlie, I'm not going to take any more tests. Let's get, I want to talk about you, and that's it. He said, I don't want to talk about me. I said, why do you think I'm here?
Yeah, right.
He said, I want to talk about jazz and the jazz players. I said, Charlie, that's fine. We can talk about your influences, but I'm here to talk about you. Oh, the Rolling Stones aren't any good. I don't want to talk about the Rolling Stones. I said, Charlie, the readers want to read about the Rolling Stones.
Yes.
No, I don't want to. He was so drunk. God bless him. He didn't mean to be drunk. He didn't mean to be mean. It was just tragic for me because I was there to get Charlie Watts on the
course.
cover of Modern Drummer for the
Yeah.
first time ever.
Yeah.
And he was not cooperating. It was just not happening. So it was very difficult.
You know, it's an interesting parallel, though, because he didn't want to talk about himself. He wanted to talk about all the other things. And when you got here and I asked her to sign an autograph for me, she said, nobody's going to want my autograph. So there's an interesting parallel, isn't it? That somebody that's as accomplished as you are, as Charlie Watts is.
Come on, you cannot
No,
compare
I just did.
me.
I just
you
did.
cannot
I just did.
compare me to Charlie Watts
just
of
did.
the Rolling Frickin' Stones.
But you were there to interview him, just like you are truly that important to me and to so many people
buddy.
in this industry. So incredibly important.
Oh, golly.
I know.
No.
Well, let me ask you this about interviewing drummers then,
Okay.
if I may.
Yes, you may.
Since you're not a drummer, how did you approach? How did you find your lane? To use the modern parlance, do the kids still say that? Stay in your lane. How did you find your lane when you're not really there to talk about sticking and snare drums and this ride cymbals crispness versus that one? How did you find your way through that?
I love drums.
Sure.
I found a real connection to the instrument.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's the foundation.
Sure.
And when I go and I listen to music, even in those lounge bands
Mm-hmm.
way back in the beginning,
Sure.
I found myself staring right at the drummer
Mm-hmm.
and going like this.
Yeah.
I was interested
Right.
in finding out, how it worked to,
Right.
maybe not to the degree of another drummer
Mm-hmm.
or to the degree of someone who actually plays the drums, but enough to know what each part of the drums does.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, it's about the feel. It always has been.
Sure.
And where the placement in the music is,
Mm-hmm.
where it makes its magic,
Mm-hmm.
which is why Jeff Porcaro is my favorite drummer.
Sure.
It's not about the technique
Right.
and the sticking and the what did you say? The sticking and
The snare drums
the
and the
snare
crispness of the
drums and
cymbal.
yeah.
Right.
It's not about that to me.
Right.
It's about how it feels
Mm-hmm.
and the way he's communicating and the
Mm-hmm.
way he's listening and the way, it's just, for me, it's about
The magic of it all.
the magic.
Yeah.
The magic.
I think that's that connection you felt to drums clearly translates to drummers because you are beloved by just everybody. The whole drum industry just adores you, and your connection to the Porcaro family, of course, is it's decades long, and you're forever linked to them. And in fact, this is a good moment to show this book. She's written several books, but we're going to talk about this one at the moment. It's About Time. Jeff Porcaro, the man and his music. This is essentially, this is the Jeff Porcaro Bible. This is it. If you're looking for information or you just want to know more about the man, the stories behind who he is, this is what you need to be reading. So many great stories. I mentioned earlier, right out of the gate, there's a story with Ron Howard talking about Jeff Porcaro. I won't spoil it, but you need to get this book. Everybody that's watching, if you don't have it, it's available on Amazon.com, I'm sure. Where else can they get it?
Oh, on Hudson Music or,
Everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere
Yeah.
books are available, I would assume. And get the hardback, because that's how we support each other, is by buying actual products. So get an actual hardback copy, if you would. This has been covered. This book has been covered a lot over the past few years.
Yeah.
Just give me briefly the impetus behind it and what led you to do it, why now, and what's coming next.
I don't even remember why I started writing that book.
Yeah.
Because it was 8 years in the works.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It took me 8 years to write that
Well,
book.
it shows.
Stops and starts
Yeah.
and, fears and trepidations
Sure.
and, was it the right thing to do and should I do it? And,
Mhm.
are people going to like it? And, maybe I shouldn't do it at all. And
Right.
this one wasn't available, and Mike Porcaro couldn't do it. He was so ill,
He was sick, yeah.
and he was the really closer even than Steve was
Sure.
to Jeff. And
Sure.
I felt that was really a missing piece.
Right.
It still feels missing to me.
Right.
You know, Joe was they were so supportive.
Sure.
And they wanted it. And I did it for his family. You know, I did it for his fans. I mean, my God, I did it so that nobody forgets Jeff.
Sure.
Not that they ever will, but past this generation
Right.
of people who will listen to this music
Right.
in a few generations from now, when drummers don't maybe know the name Jeff Porcaro, and they see this book on a shelf and say, "What's that?"
Right.
I just want someone to pick it up and say, "Oh, this looks interesting. Wow."
Sure.
Because he deserves to be remembered.
Certainly.
And I just want him to always be remembered.
One of the things that hit me this time through was how laid bare you are. There's so much of you in the storytelling. And you lead with your heart first.
I'm sorry.
Oh, no, it's a good thing. You're all heart. I mean, even before the cameras were rolling, we were talking about how love is everything for you. You treat the world, you basically walk through the world as this giant open heart. And that comes through in the book. Even as you just described it, it was about remembering someone else, who I don't know that it'll ever be forgotten, but this book will certainly help that a lot. So what you have done here is yet another iconic moment in your career and in your life that's going to impact generations to come.
I hope so.
I don't think you have much to hope for. I think it's a done deal.
Well, I love Jeff.
Yeah.
And I miss him every day.
Sure.
So the second book that I'm working on.
Did we have a title yet?
Yes. That's It's About Time. And the second book is...
Did my best Vanna White.
The second book is called Moments in Time.
Oh, nice.
Jeff Porcaro stories.
Oh, I like that.
And the impetus for that was I kept that book a secret up until the very end.
Sure.
And so people didn't know I was working on it. And when I came out with it, so many people came to me and said, "Gosh, I wish I had known that you were working on this book.
Yeah.
Boy, I have a story." And I said, "Oh my God, I wish I had known. I would have loved to have heard your story."
Yeah.
So then I started thinking, gee, maybe there's another book.
Yeah.
And the only thing is, of course, I don't want people to think I'm capitalizing. I mean, there's not money in books. So please, God, don't think that it's about money.
It's about time.
It's about Jeff.
Right.
And it's also about the fact that I wasn't ready to let go.
Sure. I can see
So
that.
I was sort of going through postpartum depression anyway.
Right.
And I started a second book.
Wow.
And I'm almost done.
Are you?
Yeah.
Any idea on a release date?
No, I just need a few more chapters to make it enough.
To flesh it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. I get you.
But it's got some great stories.
I can only imagine.
I mean, who knew? I mean, it's, obviously there's no, history of, because that's been done.
Right.
So it's just stories. And
that's going to be great.
And some people might say, oh, this is, fluff. It's a lot of people talking about just tracks that were done. But that's interesting too.
Oh, I'll say, yeah.
Those are stories.
Yeah.
People's memories of working with him, and I mean, it's some of it's not, I mean, I don't look for juicy stories.
Right.
It's not who I am.
Right.
So some of it is just, stuff working with him, but some of it's like tracks that I didn't know he really did.
No kidding.
And things that were pointed out to me that I went, whoa, I never knew he even worked with that person. I never really thought about it.
Right.
And it highlighted tracks that I'd never listened to, and I never knew that he did a lot of double drumming as much as he's done.
I didn't know that.
I mean, there's a whole chapter on that.
Wow.
So, I mean, there's stuff that I learned.
Yeah.
Again, because there was no internet back when Jeff was here.
Sure.
And unless he told me something, I had no way of knowing it.
Right, sure.
So I learned a lot. And in turn, I'm going to let everybody else learn a lot. So it's been an adventure.
Was there one single track that stood out to you that you went, what? He was what, huh?
There was like a Temptations track.
Really?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Where's the book?
Okay.
Temptations.
Nice.
Just wait.
Yeah. Had no idea.
I mean, wait, just when you hear him play with the Temptations,
Yeah.
it's astounding. Just
My
stuff
goodness.
that I uncovered that was news to me,
Right.
and tracks that I had never listened to before.
There was an artist mid to late 80s named Judson Spence that Jeff played a couple of tracks
I
on.
know that name.
And I remember thinking, holy cow, who is this? What is this? And this guy had maybe one hit song, but I remember feeling it to my soul, and that was Jeff. And he played on 2 or 3 tracks on that record, maybe, if I remember correctly. And they were the 2 or 3 tracks that made me go, yeah.
Stories that people told me of the first time hearing Jeff, not knowing it was Jeff,
Sure.
but hearing Lowdown.
Oh, man.
And having to pull their car over.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That song is, well, it's on my practice list. My everyday, I have a list that I play through just when I'm warming up or whatever. And that and Rosanna are both on there. And they're both things that I'm forever going to try to do. And I Keep Forgetting is another one. And I Keep Forgetting is the one that I just can't, even to this day, it's like, that one's so deep for me.
Yeah.
And when I listen to that,
And when you, and go back and listen to McDonald's That's Why.
Oh, okay.
And that's one of Peter Erskine's favorites.
Is it? All right. Then I'll have to check that out.
It's so deep.
Sure. The all-new GrooveDinerAfterDark.com is your home for all the things that groove. Watch live episodes, visit the archives, check out the YouTube channel, learn more about your host. Own some merchandise. We've got it all under one roof. Updates will continue to roll out throughout the season, including video drum lessons, industry coaching, production tips, and much more. Tune in for the show, then visit the website each and every week so that you can answer that most important question. Do you groove? You see what I'm saying? It's just hard not to love her, right? She is such an incredible advocate and fan of drums and drummers. It's an amazing thing that we in our community of musicians, and that's what we are a community of musicians, have somebody like Robyn on our team. I love it. It's fantastic to me. Also, the whole Michael McDonald, I Keep Forgetting thing, ever since we did this interview, which is several weeks ago now, I've been just kind of digging in, trying to make sure that I actually can do it. There's something about it and the way that Jeff phrased the kick drum against that 16th note, right hand thing. It's still just so perfect to listen to him. Sometimes I find myself getting caught up listening to him instead of just playing along to the track or whatever. I'm gonna have to use that Moises app to get the drums out so that I can really nail it down. It's just such a it's a perfect drum track. And if there's anybody that's laid down more than a few, it's Jeff. That one in particular for me, every time I hear it, it's just like, wow, I can't even believe it. On a totally different note, thanks to Eli for not telling me to fix my collar the whole interview. My collar's all jacked up. Thanks. Appreciate that. Here, I should do it. Make it match.
It's jacked up now.
Don't forget to like and subscribe and share the show. You're going to be entered to win this really amazing drum head signed by everybody that's been a guest, including Robyn Flans. She's on here somewhere. She did actually sign it. Where'd she sign it? There it is, right there. That's Robyn. So she did sign it right there, over the symbol. So she did sign it. Liking and subscribing really helps us out. So thank you for doing that. We always appreciate our new subscribers. And to everybody that's here for your first time, welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm seeing quite a few people here. I'm seeing Jason Anderson. Welcome to the show tonight, my friend. Barry Halevi's here. Charles, man, you guys have been having a conversation. Goodness. You see, because I read your comments over here, and it's amazing. What are you saying over here? Charles says, man, I've forever loved Jeff and the work he's done. I can never get my head around how much he still would have contributed. You know, yeah, he was so young when he left us, and I still remember very clearly the day that he passed away. I was in school at the University of Alabama, and we were all a bunch of drummer dudes that hung out constantly, and my phone just blew up. Oh my gosh. And we ended up kind of having this group. There was Greg Gamina and Brian Jones and myself, maybe Marty Reach. There were quite a few of us, this drummer guys. We commiserated for the next 2 or 3 days over all things Jeff. That's the kind of impact he had. And to get the chance to talk about Jeff with someone that was so close with him, that was quite an honor. And as you can tell, it's something that it's something that we should all treasure. So I'm super glad to have Robyn here sharing this with us. Don't forget to submit your questions for next week. Next week, it's your show. It's your show. It's your show, show. Send your questions, groovedinerafterdark@gmail.com. We'll see if we can get them answered on air. It's going to be a fun show next week. I think you're going to have a good time. In the meantime, let's roll part 2 of our interview with Robyn Flans.
Roll it.
Well, since we're talking about books, you did a book on Journey.
Oh God, yeah, that was early on,
Yeah.
yeah. And technically it was called the Bible because there was no other book.
Really?
And now it goes for $1 gazillion on eBay,
Right, sure.
which is ridiculous.
I love it. And you did Duran Duran.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when I told my wife that one, she nearly came unglued because she was totally that girl.
Oh,
With the
yeah.
ponytail on the side of her head. She was totally
I
that.
recently just did an interview with Nick Rhodes.
Did you?
Yeah, for a classic track for Mix Magazine.
No kidding.
Yeah, Hungry Like the Wolf.
See, there you go.
Yep.
If you had told Natalie that when you came through the house, she would have fallen
and
over.
he was lovely.
Oh, that's great.
What a lovely man.
That's great to hear. I love to hear that. Oh,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
From Rock to New Wave was another one of yours.
Yeah.
Music Mania.
3 little pop books.
Yeah.
Yep.
But then there's Ed Shaughnessy,
Eddie.
Lucky Drummer.
Yeah. Sweet Eddie.
Tell me about this. Tell me about writing with him, because he's really credited as the author.
Right.
Tell me, what was your role there? How did this work out? I mean, you guys were friends, obviously.
We were friends.
Yeah.
Really good friends.
Ed Shaughnessy was the drummer on the Tonight Show band with Johnny Carson. Sorry to interrupt you.
Yes. For 40 years.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
You remember Mr. Mutton Chops if you've never seen it. You need to check that out.
And if you didn't ever see him, go back and watch Johnny Carson.
Smoking.
He played with everybody. And the Tonight Show band.
Mm-hmm.
And the best.
Smoking. Anyway, tell me about that.
Eddie,
Sorry.
we were very close friends.
Yeah.
What was my role? Basically I wrote the book.
Of course.
I would ask questions sometimes, and other times he would just talk into a cassette and I would transcribe it and work it through, just write from it.
Sure.
It was his story to tell.
Right.
And I wrote the story for him.
Sure.
Whatever you want to say, but it was a collaboration.
Fair enough.
And I loved every minute of it.
I bet you did.
And it took a long time, and we did a lot of it in person.
Mm-hmm.
And his beautiful wife was alive through most of it,
Mm-hmm.
and it was just wonderful.
I can only I think that would be. I haven't read that book, and I'm going to try to find a copy of it because
I wish you had told me.
Well, I just did.
have copies.
Well, the
I
next
would have
time.
brought it.
Next time,
Well, you're not far from me.
Not at all.
I'll
That's true.
find a way to get it to
I would
you.
love that very
When
much.
it's not raining.
Yeah, she came out in the rain.
It's really pouring tonight.
Exactly. Well, you have a thing for Eds in your life. Ed Eblin,
Yeah.
Ed Shaughnessy, and now Eddie Tuduri.
Eddie Tuduri is one of my dear friends.
He's a friend of the show, too. We love Eddie.
I've known him for decades.
Yeah.
Decades and decades and decades and decades. What I didn't know about him was what a frickin' funny person he is and what an outstanding writer he is.
That's so good.
Until we were on a Zoom together and he mentioned that he was writing a book.
Yeah.
And I emailed him after the Zoom and I said, what's with the book? And he said, oh, it's, I'm trying to finish it, but, blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, I'd love to read some of it. You're so funny, you're just a kick and a half.
Right.
And he said, I'll send you a chapter. I said, no, send me the whole thing. He said, nah, you don't want to read the whole thing. I said, I do kind of want to read the whole thing. No. Yes. Okay. So sent me the whole thing. I mean, it's better than any book I've ever written. He's so good. So, right away, he had too many semicolons. And I told him his semicolon use had to go. It just had to go. He laughed so hard. So I said, look, I'm going to edit this. I'm going to do a soft edit. And
Right.
you tell me if that's okay with you. So I did a soft edit first. And then he said, boy, this is pretty good. I said, okay, now can I really get going? He said, you do whatever you want.
Yeah.
So I was very careful and I was very respectful and I would write in little red portions, can I do this? Can I do that?
Right.
And we'd dialogue back and forth. And before you knew it, I was editing his book.
How about that?
It is such a good book, buddy.
I bet.
And Hudson Music has said they're going to do something with it. I'm not going to reveal exactly what.
Sure.
But he deserves it.
He does.
First of all, he's got an amazing story to
He
tell.
does.
He's been through a whole lot.
He was on the show last season, so people that watched last season know his story a bit.
First of all, he's a celebrated drummer.
Absolutely.
Second of all, he's been through an accident that could have rendered him completely over with.
Mm-hmm.
But he's come out the other side. And not only has he come out the other side physically, but he is giving to the world in such a capacity that puts me to shame every single day of my life.
He puts us all to shame every single day.
So I am so proud
Yeah.
to be helping him bring this to fruition.
Sure.
That I'm so proud of him.
He's a truly amazing guy. And we, as I said, he's a friend of the show. He's a friend of ours. And he's a friend of everyone's. He's a friend of humanity.
He is a friend of
I mean,
humanity.
just the work he does with Trap
Yeah.
alone
Yeah.
is enough for a legacy. Forget about him as a drummer.
Yeah.
But that legacy alone is enough to solidify his place in the world.
He has given this world so much that he's just made it a better place.
He truly has. And I can't wait to see what you guys came up with for his book. I can't wait.
It's amazing.
I'm sure it is.
It is. He came up with it.
Well,
It's completely his book. I've just helped him, dotted the I's and crossed the T's.
Right.
But he's
gotten rid of semicolons.
Yes, yes, definitely put those semicolons to better use.
Apparently
Throw
more
them
than
in the trash.
Do you have a title for that yet?
I'll let him
You'll
do
let
the
him,
title
okay.
reveal.
Fair enough.
But he's brilliant. I'll just
no
tell
doubt.
you that he
I
is
can't
just
wait.
brilliant.
I cannot wait to read that. Really.
Yeah.
That's going to be an awful lot of fun. Tell me about your current project, Future Youth Records.
Well, that's my dream come true.
Tell me.
Because that, for me, is my way to change the world.
Oh, even more.
Yeah, well, for me, this is what I've always dreamed of doing. For me, I've always wanted to help humanity.
Sure.
And this is twofold.
Okay.
What Future Youth Records does, it's a nonprofit that was started by, what else? A drummer.
Of course.
By the name of Jason Wall.
Drummers are just good people.
Yes, they are good people. They are great people. And Jason is another one who wears his heart on his sleeve.
Yeah.
He is amazing, smart and giving and loving and compassionate.
Sure.
And he started Future Youth Records in 2012 with the idea of producing young artists free of charge all over the world who write socially aware music.
Oh, interesting.
So on two levels, what we're doing is we're helping artists. We're giving them an opportunity to be artistic and creative and learn how to produce their own music and be successful and creative.
Sure.
And learn about the industry, because we also do workshops for them and set them up with celebrity musicians and have mentors, and they work with celebrity musicians, so they've learned the industry, and we're producing their music, so we're giving them a shot at success.
Sure.
But we're also helping the world by putting out messages of women empowerment, inclusion, peace, environmental justice. So it's a two-pronged situation where I feel like I'm actually doing something that makes a difference. That happened about 8 or 9 months ago for me.
Okay.
And I'm technically the communications director or director of communications. I don't even know. So I was brought in to do the writing.
Got it.
Like the bios, the letters that needed to be written to people.
Surprising you were brought in to write.
And actually, they found me. I mean, that was just like that was the biggest gift of all.
I love that.
It was like, wow. And so maybe I could help connect them with people. And what a great thing that I realized all these wonderful friends I've made all these years, they want to help.
Sure.
The other person on the team, Kaylee, had worked with Julian Lennon on a previous project. So she had access to Julian, which was really great.
I saw the pictures.
Yeah, that was like, wow.
Yeah.
And so what that does, I mean, it's not just about let's bring a celebrity in and make it wow. I mean, bringing a celebrity in helps these young people because it gives them a higher profile.
Absolutely.
It helps their music get noticed. It helps us get publicity for the project. So it sheds light on future youth. It sheds light on the artists, and it sheds light on the cause. Julian has a foundation called the White Feather Foundation, and he partnered his foundation with our foundation. And voila, we had this beautiful partnership. And I called upon my friends, Jim Keltner and Steve Porcaro, and no questions asked.
Sure.
It was sure, when and where. And they came to the studio and they cut the track. We cut Julian's Saltwater, which, if you haven't heard
I
it,
have not.
oh my God.
Okay.
I mean, to think that he wrote this in 1991
Mm-hmm.
and we're in a worse mess now.
Yeah.
And I wasn't even aware of our problems in 1991,
Right.
to be truthful. And he was so far thinking. It's just stunning to
Sure.
me to think that he knew what was going on back then.
Mm-hmm.
The song is amazing. 3 of our future youth artists sing it. It's just so beautiful. And these session guys and girls, because
Right.
Eva Gardner from Pink
Yeah,
also
sure,
plays on it, knock it out of the park.
Nice.
And we got a lot of press coverage. I mean,
I
we
can imagine.
hired a great PR
Yeah.
company, which was also a friend of mine, and they did fine by us.
Right.
And I mean, we're going to have an Access Hollywood piece
No kidding.
closer to the release date. The release date is Earth Day.
Nice. April 22nd.
Yeah. I'm so happy that I can do this. Our next project is, again, a friend of mine, Billy Bob Thornton,
Mm-hmm.
is going to do a piece from one of our artists on mental health,
Oh, wow.
because he feels connected to that
Sure.
issue. He has his own struggles
Right.
and wants to shed light on that.
Wow, that's really amazing.
and do some press for us.
Right.
He has anxiety and OCD and is very willing to talk about
Talk
it.
about it.
And he's just such a great guy.
That's
He's
great to hear.
Such a good person.
Yeah.
And so he's going to have us at his studio with the Boxmasters, his
Yeah,
band.
Yeah.
And we're going to fly out our artist from Canada,
Mm-hmm.
who's going to write the song
Mm-hmm.
and perform with the Boxmasters.
That's great.
I just feel useful and full of something important. And what's more important than mental health?
Right.
And peace. And we're working on a peace project with Felix Cavalieri of the Rascals.
Yeah.
And who better to represent that than Mr. Peace himself?
Yeah, seriously.
The world is a mess.
It is, but with people like you, seriously, I want you to think for a moment the names you just said, the people that were willing to immediately drop whatever and come do anything you asked. And if you're ever questioning whether or not you've made an impact on the world, you don't have to, because people don't do that for just anybody. And I know that your humility is noted, but it's true that you've made an impact. Personally, I showed you this Modern Drummer magazine. I'm not sitting here today without that. I don't have a career in this industry without that article. So even just on a personal level, you made that kind of difference for me.
I'm glad, buddy.
I mean,
'Cause
even
the world would be sadder without you in it.
well, thank you for saying that. And that's how we all feel about you. You truly are the first lady of drummer interviews, but it's because you impacted drummers as much as drummers ever impacted you.
Well, it's kind of like that It's a Wonderful Life thing,
Isn't it?
which has always been the most important movie to me,
Yes.
because we all are connected
Yes.
and we all have a place.
Mhm.
And if we all don't do our piece, then the world is out of joint.
Absolutely.
And if we take one person out of that piece,
The scale's no longer balanced. Yeah.
then there's no It's a Wonderful Life.
Right. That's exactly right.
It relies on that community
Mm-hmm.
and all of us doing our piece
Right.
and our part. And it's really important. I believe that we're all in this together. And these last few years have been very hard.
It's been a challenging time.
I mean, I don't want to get political here, but people are at odds with one another.
Yeah.
And it's not good.
It's not. I agree.
I just want people to love one another. That needs to.
Yeah.
I'm just an old hippie. What can I tell you? I just want peace and kindness and love and respect. You know, we can disagree, but we need to agree to disagree.
Right.
And
Not make villains out of each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's okay to disagree
Sure.
and have civil discourse.
Right. Remember what I said earlier about you leading with your heart? I think we've just seen a perfect example of that.
Well, it's kind of a problem I have. You know, it's funny because when I interviewed Julian,
Mm-hmm.
I did an interview with Julian at the studio that day.
Sure.
And by the time I was finished, we were finished. I shouldn't say I, because
Right.
it's a two-way street. He had me in tears
Sure.
because he's very giving. He
Sure.
also is, talk about a person who gives and gives and gives and, you know. And I just looked at him and I said, it really sucks to be an empath, doesn't it? And he just looked at me like, wow,
Yeah.
you know, you nailed it.
Yep.
And he kind of looked and he sat back and he said, yeah.
Yeah.
And the tears started coming
Mhm.
because I could relate. I
Mhm.
mean, it does suck sometimes
It
because I feel things too, you know, deeply, and I could see he did too.
Mhm.
I mean, really. And we ended it on that note.
Did you?
Yeah,
Wow.
and then I said, "Can I have a hug?" And he got up and went. It was just like, yeah. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it's good and sometimes it's bad.
I'm also an empath.
I can tell.
And
I can tell.
yeah.
I can tell.
And so it's been a struggle for all of us for the past several years. The way the world has turned, the way we relate to each other, that hostility, we take it internally in ways that non-empaths don't and can't even really understand.
Yes.
Doesn't make us better or worse. It's just quite different, and it's a different way
Yes.
of processing information in the world around us.
I
And,
get it.
Yeah, I know you do.
Yeah.
I know you do.
And I saw it.
Yeah, for sure. This is Blast Beats with Robyn. All right, here we go. So first up, one device, not your phone, that you simply can't live without.
Computer.
Yeah? Well, that's a simple answer, isn't it?
The computer or a tape recorder?
The tape recorder, the
Both.
cassette recorder, yeah, right?
Neither.
She still does all the interviews on cassette. We'll talk about that later. Okay, so what's let's assume that you've got your computer and or your phone or whatever, or your cassette player, and the battery is absolutely never going to run out, and you find yourself on a desert island. What is your one album that you've got to have?
Toto 4.
It's such a great album. I have to tell you this. A kid in Mississippi, right? I hear about this thing coming out. I go to the local record store, 40 miles away.
Oh, God.
Yeah, it was that far to the closest record store. So I went and they didn't have it. I ordered it and I waited like 12 weeks to get Toto 4. I still have it inside. Never getting rid of that.
12 weeks.
It took 12 weeks to get that record.
Oh, buddy.
It was worth it.
Where the heck did you live?
Mississippi.
Oh,
Yeah.
golly.
Do you happen to have a favorite book or series of books?
Oh, you just made me think Nancy Drew.
Oh, I love it. That's great.
I read every one of them and loved them so much.
That's so great. I love that. I think my sisters read those.
And I think that made me want to be a writer
Did it?
in a way. I mean, forget that I wanted to be an
Of
actress.
course.
I was, I think, 10 years old when I wrote my first book, longhand on paper.
Oh, that's great.
And it was a mystery.
Yeah?
I forget, it was called The Mystery of the Something or Other, just like the Nancy Drew books were titled.
That's great.
But I was inspired by Nancy Drew books.
I love that. New York style or Chicago style pizza?
New York.
I knew you were going to say that. She was born in New York, so that wasn't even fair.
I've had both.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of the Chicago style. And usually I just look at somebody and say, well, you're wrong about that. Tell me who your very first celebrity crush was.
John Provost from Lassie.
No kidding.
I was really little.
I guess so. I love that.
I remember thinking he was so cute, so cute, so cute. But then it was Davy Jones. I was a little older.
Either way, I mean, John Provost of Lassie.
He was really cute.
Nice. I went to New York to Radio City Music Hall when I was 8, and Lassie was there.
Oh!
And it just made my whole life.
Oh, Lassie.
I couldn't have been happier that Lassie was at Radio City Music Hall.
You're too young to remember John Provost. Though.
I am, but
he was blonde and cute. And
what role did he play?
He played the little boy on Lassie.
Timmy,
yeah.
Okay.
Timmy, yeah. See you. Yeah.
Okay. Would you rather go to a beach resort or a mountain retreat?
Mountain retreat.
I'm not terribly shocked by that.
I'm not a beach person.
Not a beach person?
Mm-mm. I'm okay with a beach place if I don't have to go on the sand.
Oh, so it's a sand thing.
Yeah.
Have you been to the sand in the Gulf Coast area?
No.
You ever been there? It's very different than the sand out here.
Oh.
We call it sugar sand. It looks like grains of sugar. Super white, super fine. Nothing like the sand out here.
Really?
Yeah, and it doesn't get hot. The sand does not get hot. I mean, the temperature's hot, but the sand stays cool.
Interesting.
Cool-ish.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'll have to show you some pictures. You won't believe it. When people say Gulf Shores, Alabama, in particular, from that little range down through the panhandle of Florida, it's stunningly beautiful.
It's almost like a powder on your feet.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it feels so nice.
It is.
Really?
It's not coarse at all.
Not at all.
It still gets in your
It does.
mouth and
It
in
does. It absolutely does.
your hair and in your toes
Yeah, it
and
does,
in
it
your
does.
it gets in your mouth.
Okay. Shawshank or Godfather?
Oh, both, but
Yeah.
Shawshank.
Yeah? You're my people. So many people say Godfather. I'm more of a Shawshank person.
Yeah.
If you weren't doing what you're doing now, what would you be doing? What's something else that you would like to do?
Save the world.
Well, you're doing that, so
okay,
that doesn't
right.
count. Is there anybody that you've ever wanted to interview that you haven't had the opportunity to?
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
A billion people.
If you had to pick one. That word one is really difficult sometimes.
Dead or alive.
Yeah, dead or alive is fine. Either way, seriously. Let's go with alive, so somebody that you could still get.
I mean, I got him on the phone for Jeff's book, but I'd like to probably do a sit down with Bruce Springsteen.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be a good one to do for sure. If anybody could do it and do it well, it'd be you.
I'd really enjoy that.
Yeah. What do you think about today's drummers, the current crop of?
Oh, wait, I take it back. There's somebody else.
Who?
Barack Obama.
Oh, that'd be a good one. Our guest that we interviewed last week met him at the White House in a character role, and he said it was a really amazing moment.
He's my everything.
Nice.
For a while, I was dreaming about him once a week.
Really?
Yeah,
What
and
sort of
the
dreams?
dreams were so real that I would wake up believing I had met him.
How about that?
And I mean, in my dreams, I would be saying, I can't believe this is really happening. I mean, I was saying, I've been dreaming. I would tell him, I dream about you all the time.
Right.
I mean, it's so odd. I love him so.
Maybe that can happen. Maybe so.
Yeah, that's who I would like to sit down with.
Have you ever been intimidated by someone you've interviewed?
I'm intimidated by everyone I interview.
Yeah, I'm intimidated tonight.
I'm intimidated by everybody.
Are you?
I get nervous before every interview.
Yeah.
Everybody
I eat
intimidates
this
me.
much food before every interview. Like this much. I eat as much food as I can possibly take in before every interview.
Are you serious?
That's my way of dealing with the nerves. It's like
Really?
Yep. I eat and eat and eat.
So interesting.
I eat my feelings, I suppose.
That's so interesting.
Yeah. And Eli, he can't eat. Like, he doesn't eat before we do this ever.
Complete opposite.
Yeah.
No, I don't really eat either. And I'm completely nervous
How about that?
all the time.
Always.
Always.
Wow, I had no idea that you did. I would never know that. Never know that. Wow. So we have one more segment now to do, and we call it our Mount Rushmore. So there are four presidents. There are four presidents on Mount Rushmore.
Okay.
So your Mount Rushmore of drummers. Who are your top four drummers?
Jeff is first.
Of course, yeah.
There's so many different genres.
So many.
And I love so many players, the way they play. I mean, there's Keltner.
I kind of thought Keltner would be on that list.
And there's Ringo.
Yeah, okay. So that's three. Who's your fourth?
All these drummers' names are going through my head.
Thousands of them that really matter.
Yeah, it's like, oh my God, there's,
Buddy, my fourth Mount Rushmore pick. Of course, it's Vinnie Colaiuta. How could I not get that out of my mouth on time?
If some kids are watching and they are interested in doing what you do, what advice would you give them?
It's a tough question
It is.
because there are very few publications left.
Yeah, true.
However, if you want to do it, you'll find a way of doing it. And my suggestion is you find outlets that do it on broadcast, because that's pretty much the only place that really has a platform anymore.
What do you mean on broadcast?
Like news outlets that cover entertainment.
Sure.
Unfortunately, a lot of there's still Rolling Stone, and there's still some music magazines.
Right.
And you can write books, for sure. Books will never leave the earth, I hope, to God. But publications are a tough one anymore. Most of them have bitten the dust. So it's not the same landscape as when I started out. But when there's a will, there's a way.
Excellent. Excellent. Robyn Flans, and this is a very important question. This is the question we end every interview with, and it matters as to whether or not we can be friends moving forward in the future. What is your favorite Rick Springfield song?
Well, I have to say Jesse's
You
Girl.
have to say Jesse's
because
Girl.
I was in the room when he first came up with, not when he first came up with it, but when he was first rehearsing it.
Really?
And I was all by myself, and he was singing it to me.
Oh,
at
yeah.
Sound City.
That's so great. Oh, that's the answer of the decade right there. I think we just retired that question. Wow. So do you know Richard Grossman, bass player? He was in the video for Jesse's Girl. He was the one in the striped shirt.
Okay.
He came over and did this 2 months ago or something. Yeah, he did that.
He was on the show.
Yeah, he was on the show.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, so
I didn't notice anybody else in the room
Rick Springfield,
except Rick
yeah.
Springfield. Let me tell you, I was the only one sitting there, and he sang that, and I was just going, yeah.
He is quite dreamy.
And back then, oh boy,
Look, he's still dreamy. I don't know what he's 70 years old or something, and he's still dreamy.
he was. Yeah, he is.
Yeah,
But
he is very, very dreamy.
back at that time, oh my God, yeah, he was to die for.
Yeah, that's the answer to end all answers right there.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay, great. Well, thank you so much, Jeff Porcaro. This is the book. It's About Time, Jeff Porcaro, the man and his music. The sequel is on its way. go get this at where was it? At Amazon.com and Hudson Music,
Yeah,
right?
sure.
Yep. Get it either place. Buy the hardcover, like I said. Don't buy the digital. I mean, you can buy the digital, but get the hardcover. It helps to have the hardcover around. I have one more question for you regarding drummers. Was there a common thread that you ever saw through the ones that really resonated with you? What is that common denominator?
They all share. They're generous people.
Yeah,
Generosity.
sure. I can see that. I can absolutely see that.
Some of them are, you know what,
Yeah. Some of everybody's
full of themselves.
Right.
But mostly generous.
That's been my experience with the ones that really, the people I've gravitated toward have always been that way. And I think that you attract that which is like you. So you have made that impression on so many people. So, again, thank you for everything you've done for the drum community and what you're doing for the world now.
You know what, buddy? It has been such my honor. I have been so blessed.
Yeah.
I told my kids, it's not about money. You have to get up in the morning and love what you do.
Mm-hmm.
And I always supported what they wanted to do. They both ended up in music. And I'm happy that they love what they do.
That's fantastic. Absolutely.
The most important thing.
Yes, it is. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
You got it.
Thank you, Eli.
My pleasure. Thank you for being here.
We'll have to have you back when you get the sequel done.
Okay.
Yeah, we can talk about that one. Great. Groove Diner After Dark, the store. Get your official Groove Diner merchandise by visiting our new store at groovedinerafterdark.com. Coffee mugs, long sleeve shirts, t-shirts, pint glasses, stickers. Now you can show your support of Groove Diner After Dark from head to toe. Simply visit our website or click the link in this video description and get your gear today. Thank you for your support. Hey! Welcome back to the live show. I'm saying that because I was getting Eli to hand me this, my very own personal ePad Pro. Thanks to Ed Eblin for this, and he's with us tonight. He has joined the show. Ed, thanks for chiming in. We appreciate it. Don Worth, good to see you here tonight as well. Charles, yeah, I see you saying, Robyn, that it's a labor of love for her, and it clearly is that. She is definitely someone that is, she leads from her heart first, and everything just flows out from there. And she is one of my favorite people. So thank you, Robyn, for coming in. And I see that she's joined us tonight. So thank you so much for being here. Absolutely. It's great that you were here and had a little chance to chat with some of our viewers. That's fun. I was thinking about what she said about the common thread being generosity. Drummers just have a certain generous nature to them. I'm going to say this because I don't think maybe you guys know this. Every guest that we have comes on this show for free. Nobody charges us anything. They do this out of the generosity of their heart. And I am so grateful to them for that, including Robyn. These are people that give of their time to bring their story to you guys. And I'm so appreciative that they're all so willing to do that. It makes my job doable here, and so I thank you so much for everybody that's been here, and especially for Robyn for being here. Thanks, Charles, for all your chiming in tonight. It's been great to have you. Don't forget to share the show and like the show, and you'll be automatically entered to win this drumhead with everybody's autograph on it. We're so glad to have everybody here. Thank you to our first-time viewers. I know there were quite a few tonight that were first-timers, so please like and subscribe to the channel, and you can see our archives dating back for 2 seasons on Groove Diner After Dark's YouTube channel. That's YouTube/Groove Diner After Dark. You can also go to groovedinerafterdark.com, and there are a few cool things over there that maybe you haven't checked out, so be sure you take a look at that. Don't forget, 1 week remaining. Send your questions for It's Your Show to groovedinerafterdark@gmail.com. If you ask it, we'll try to answer it live on air. 1 week from tonight. So until then, I wish you all a great, wonderful week. Try to stay healthy. I'm going to do the same. Thanks again to everybody who checked in on me from my Namthrax bout this past week. I am, in fact, feeling a lot better. But until then, we'll see you next week.